direction and go anywhere. And basically the freeways are very close. You've got the 10 freeway, the 605 not that far away. Certainly he could go onto some of the freeways, but this driver seems to be circling this West Covina area, particularly that neighborhood. And then we saw also some of these shopping centers in and around that neighborhood as well. Just kind of almost yahooing it, if you will, going, slowing, stopping, and then speeding up at a really high rate of speed. And there you see doing a U-turn right in the middle of an intersection. So it almost appears that this driver is in a neighborhood, or at least in an area that he's familiar with, onto a sidewalk now.
Yeah, you know, and we're, just so the public kind of knows the general area, we're off of Francisquito Avenue and near Sunset, near Glendora, just in Merced. It's basically in that giant block area right there in the West Covina area, and it almost appears that we've been going by that same shopping center. I haven't seen the Big Five is what I've been using as my reference point, but I haven't seen it rolling through there again. You clearly saw it. We just crossed over Sunset. So I don't know if he's making his way out towards Orange, because he was on Orange earlier on, but really picking up some speed again right there. Shirt and his hoodie basically blowing up the back of his back. But at any rate, every time he opens it up like that, every time he really starts to move that motorcycle along, you just hope that those tires stay to the ground, and you also hope that no other vehicle isn't expecting him to be going 100 miles an hour, going to change lanes or do anything that's unexpected in front of that motorcycle. That rider might be getting tired. We've been seeing a little bit slower movement with the bike, even though on the straightaways he's still really opening it up. But all those hard turns, all that going through areas, and it could get exhausting for that rider. So that's something else to consider. And as he gets more exhausted, he might be prone to make some more mistakes or unable to control that motorcycle the best that he could. So right now we're keeping an eye on it. I can tell you the Sheriff's Department has not let this go, but it is because of safety. They're not on the ground, and they also feel that it's almost that the rider is taunting the deputies, and it also might be a problem. They're thinking that maybe if he doesn't see those deputies down there, he's going to be able to maybe slow down or make some better decisions. Looks like right now he's making a decision to get some fuel.
Well, now he seems to be talking to some of the people fueling up at this gas station.
Yeah, and you almost wonder if he's going to try to. Yeah, he just jacked that guy's fuel right there. And at a couple of dollars a gallon, that's that's almost petty theft. At any rate, he just took a squirt or two, and that's about it. But so it does show you he might be running on empty. Just a gallon on that bike will get you a good distance. But he's continuing on there. Wow.
It's interesting, because I had that question, and I'm not sure. I'm not a motorcyclist, so I don't know how long a motorcycle can run on a tank of gas, especially if you're unloading at very high rates of speed here. You're going to have to, we often talk about during chases how long, you only can run on the one tank of gas, right? You have to gas up. But again, it goes to the fact that these motorcyclists, you can be so nimble, and it's interesting how that woman, of course, she did the right thing. He probably said, hey, let me have some gas here. She goes back in her vehicle. He grabs the pump for just a second and gives himself a couple of gallons, and he's back on the run again.
Yep, and he hasn't popped. There he is. He just came out the other side. But yeah, it's one of those ones, and now he's starting, to gesture. It seems like he's almost gesturing to anybody that's going to look at him. I find it hard to believe that, just a lot of these random folks down there actually are watching or know that this is a chase. Also, Bobby, that was one of the things that I noticed, besides the fact that he just basically stole gas from those people right there, is that all of a sudden there was a lot of black and whites in the area. You saw that CHP cruiser nearby all of a sudden, and then you also saw another sheriff's deputy driving up the road. So they are in the area, and this is one of the things you talked about, and I was so hopeful that you were right about this one. It looks like we're getting on the 10 freeway. So maybe we're going to go back to where this kind of started. The only plus on this is that there aren't a lot of turns, there aren't any intersections, but definitely we've seen this rider really driving very, very quickly, and again, this falls back into the same thing. You're driving along, you're going to make a lane change, you check your mirrors, you might see this motorcycle far off in the distance. Nobody's thinking that, that bike is going to be right there because he's going 100 miles an hour, and you're going to do that lane change safely, and then the next thing you know, you make contact with a motorcyclist. That's one of the big risks out there. I'm the guy that always, when there's traffic, I'll move over if I hear them coming or I see them in the rearview mirror, but when you're going 100 miles an hour and traffic's going 70, it becomes very, very dangerous for these riders. And, these are the decisions that they're making. And in the end, it could ruin, a driver, somebody in a car's day, and it might really ruin that rider's day.
I'll be the first to admit when I'm wrong, and yeah, I still do believe that he knows that West Covina area. He's
Definitely
familiar with that area, but then decided to get here on the freeway and then just, again, unload there. By the way, that 76 gas station in West Covina was on Puente and Francisquito, and so right there in the middle of the West Covina area, and now
North 605.
merging onto the 605, you said, Stu?
I'm sorry, no, we were just talking about what freeway he was on inside the helicopter. Sorry about that, Bobby. We're north on the 605 freeway from the westbound 10. That's basically where we just transitioned. Now we're north on the 605. He could make his way back into that same neighborhood. Basically just take the 605 up to the 210 and then drop back south again. Maybe he's just burning off that fuel, that little bit of extra fuel he got there. For the most part, you have to think that that rider must know that the sheriff's helicopter is above, and they're going to keep an eye on him. If he's trying to formulate a plan, well, you can try all you want. The reality is if that motorcycle belongs to him, and it probably does, just out of general thought, probably does belong to him. The reality is that bike is going to get impounded, and he probably is going to have a lot of explaining to do how to get it back and or lose it in this as an outcome. But right now, luckily, there hasn't been any. Luckily, and the thing too, a quick move like that, a driver that's unaware might not hit that motorcycle, but might lock up the brakes, create another problem. Yeah. There's a lot going on out here, but the most dangerous thing is that rider on that motorcycle, extremely high speeds, running from law enforcement, and you got to be clear about this. There's nobody behind him. So if anybody's watching and saying, well, that's one of the reasons why the law enforcement doesn't stay behind so many times is because they feel that that rider or the person they're pursuing will look in the rearview mirror, and now he doesn't have that tension, or her, that tension of, I've got to run. And we've seen it work many times in the past, but that helicopter definitely above it, definitely keeping an eye on it, and also informing officers and deputies on the ground where this rider is, where he's going, and where he might stop. And like I said, we saw that at the gas station. All of a sudden, that vehicle stopped, got some fuel, and there was a bunch of black and whites right there. So they were making their way in to kind of lock down that area. Sadly, that rider got the fuel and took off. Right now, we're going to be northbound. 605 freeway coming up near the Santa Fe Dam area. The 210 is his options. If not, he's basically going to dump himself out on the Huntington Drive up to the Duarte area. But right now, basically still driving much faster than freeway speeds, and like we've been saying, helicopters are above.
Okay, northbound on the 605. The reality is, Stu, you've been doing this much longer than I have. You've watched these pursuits over and over again, and you've seen. I think people out know already that there are helicopters overhead watching. We have a split box here because we want to show, you were telling us earlier that as he was going through the West Covina area, he seemed to be waving at people on the side of the street. We're going to take a closer look at this right here as he goes through that neighborhood. And we were talking about how it seemed almost as if this motorcyclist was familiar with the West Covina area, just circling those streets for a very long period of time. So we're watching just on the right side of your screen. This is that time when just a short while ago, going through a neighborhood and was waving at people in some sort of a neighborhood. And we're back here on this live shot here on, as you said, the 605 freeway. So we should be approaching the 210 freeway, Stu?
Definitely getting very close to the 210 freeway. I'm keeping an eye on that little white car right there. At first, I thought it was a Subaru, but it might be something else. But definitely was at least is keeping up pace or best he can with that motorcyclist. Now he's kind of got blocked in. So it looks like because he's leaning over towards the right lanes right there, we're definitely going to be we have to take the 210. But I'm guessing we're going to be doing an eastbound. But that's just a shot in the dark right there. We're going to keep an eye on it. He could definitely, he's crossing back down. Look at that, right across the gore point. That's some dangerous moves for a motorcycle. So it looks like, and now definitely we're committed to the westbound. So now we're going to be doing westbound 210. So we're basically getting out of that area that we thought that he was so familiar with, or maybe he is, and he's just leaving it. We just don't know. But at any rate, on that transition, you can see looks like a deputy's vehicle right there, not California Highway Patrol. But, is it just coincidence? Yeah, there's two of them. So is it coincidence? It might be. We'll see here just a moment as that motorcycle basically gets into the lanes out here, establishes that transition, and now we are westbound 210 freeway in the Duarte area, and you can see it right there, really starting to pick up some speed again. But we know he's low on fuel, and I don't know how much fuel he could have possibly got there. Maybe a gallon. Usually when I grab those pumps, they go really, really slow, never fast enough. So, but any fuel is enough to keep him moving, and that's what he's doing right now. And making our way to Mountain. It'll be the first or next off-ramp right there. And continue. Yep, looks like we're getting off at Mountain. So keep an eye on where he's going.
My point that I was making earlier, Stu, again, you've been doing this for a long time, and I think by now, don't you think these drivers know that there are helicopters overhead, that they are being watched? I mean, sometimes they even just motion to the helicopters overhead, telling them to try and tell them to back off, and it would just be impossible for officers on the roads to follow this motorcyclist safely, chasing it through streets and surface streets and neighborhoods and the like.
Definitely, and of course they know that they're being followed. Of course they know that there's somebody watching them, and it isn't just coincidence. I'm kind of wondering right now. I'm kind of stumbling around right here. If he's garage, because we're back into another shopping center area. It seems to be one of the spots where he likes to go to or drive through. I'm not really sure what that is all about. I believe we're back on the Central right now. This is paralleling the 210 freeway. The traffic out here, when he was making that one little turn there, cutting those people off, making the wide right-hand turns, and those are extremely dangerous. He can't see what's going on the other side, and right now it looks like, because again we don't have that map today, it looks like we're going to be northbound on it's either Shamrock or Mountain, but a lot more traffic. And Bobby, you're so right. The law enforcement, they could maybe keep up in the idea that they could stay. That's Huntington, the historic Route 66, making our way back the other direction. But they chose to follow in the helicopter. That's probably the best bet, keeping the deputies and law enforcement safe. And whoop, there you go.
Wow.
And you got to wonder, that deputy has got to know that this was coming, and they're also probably not to engage. Maybe just that momentary flash of the siren right there, their presence, maybe he was just hoping that it was enough to get him to stop. There's another law enforcement right there. And so that just shows you that they know that this is happening in the area. They know that if he dumps the bike and he bails, that they'll be in that area very quickly, locking down that perimeter and trying to get that guy into custody.
Well, what choices does this motorcyclist have, right? And then there's more black and whites there in the area. By the way, we do have that video, Stu, of the situation in West Covina, happened earlier, where the driver, as we said, we don't know how much gas this motorcycle has, but he did make the effort to go get some gas, so we could only glean that this motorcyclist is running out of gas. And you're looking there at the right-hand side of your screen. Another picture here as Skyfox zooms in, and you can see there's a woman there who is gassing up her vehicle, another person there, and they're just walking away and letting him grab the pump and put in a couple of gallons of gas in his motorcycle before then taking off. And then it looks as if on the left-hand side of your screen, that's the live picture, and it looks as if, Stu, that motorcyclist is back on a freeway.
Back onto the freeway, I was hoping it was just a frontage road right there, but back on the freeway and really opening it up again. You can clearly see that vehicle moving double the speed of what's going on down there. So he's probably well into the triple digits. There's no limiter on that motorcycle. As fast as that motor will push that transmission is as fast as that bike is going to go. Still, even though it's wide open, Bobby, I'm just telling you, you know, you can hear a little bit of jovial in my voice, but believe me, the jovial is just that I cannot grasp the, you know, the risk that this guy is taking. That is really what it is. It isn't like anything other than that. I just worry that you know, that we're going to see something on the freeway that we just don't want to see live on television, and the motorcycle actually moving a little quicker than even Skyfox can today, and we're just continuing on out here, and we're definitely moving along at a really good clip. I wish we had the map, the speedometer today, just to you know, really record these speeds. Definitely moving westbound on the 210 freeway. We're making our way through the Monrovia area right now. Arcadia will be the next stop if he doesn't get back off the freeway. But Bobby, you know, we watch him get fuel, and the only reason somebody in a chase would actually stop and try to throw some gas in their motorcycle is because they were running out. And so you just got to wonder how much longer that this bike is just going to be able to ride. If we knew that he just had, you know, that extra gallon of fuel, how long is that good? How much time is that going to get him? If anybody knows, you know, text me. I'd love to.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear some actual numbers. We're coming up on Santa Ana is the next boulevard, so we're already in Arcadia. Speeds probably well into the triple digits right there, weaving in and out of traffic. Wet roads, not rain, but definitely damp.
Slick.
Looks like he's moving way over to the right. We might be getting off the freeway again, Bob.
Well, you're talking about speeds into the triple digits, and we're hearing upwards of 120 miles per hour. So this is a very, very high rate of speed, and you can tell by the relative speed of the motorcycle versus other cars on the roadway right now that he's traveling at a very high rate of speed. And then you have to also wonder with the gas situation there, although he did gas up and get a couple more gallons, if he is low on fuel, to be unloading it at such a very high rate of speed, you expend gas a lot more quickly. Whether or not he's going to have to pull another stunt and do the same thing again and try to get some gas from someone else at another gas station. But you're like our human GPS, Stu. You've been following this person pretty good. It's your years of experience knowing these freeways and roads in Southern California to try to figure out and navigate where exactly this person is, and especially at such a high rate of speed. So just to reset for our viewers here who have been watching us, this is the Fox 11 News at noon. We've been watching this high-speed chase with a motorcyclist through the East San Gabriel Valley. It's been mostly on surface streets in the West Covina area. Spent a lot of time there in the West Covina area, but then we've seen this driver now dump onto the 10 freeway, the 605 freeway, and then now onto the 210 freeway, and as you see, continues to unload at a very high rate of speed. The initial call was just that this driver was driving at an unsafe rate of speed, this motorcyclist, and also that it didn't have plates, but obviously the motorcyclist did not stop. And